As parents, our first instinct is to protect or shield our kids when something goes wrong. But what do you do when that something wrong is with you? That's a debate we're going to explore today. Should you tell your children, or how much should you tell your children when you're seriously ill? Coleen, obviously within the family, and I'm thinking of Bernie because Erin was really young at the time, sort of early teenage?
No, she was 11.
Oh, she was 11?
She was 14 when Bernie died, yeah.
Yeah.
So she was 11, and I think they told... I don't think Bernie got her diagnosis and went home and told Erin.
No.
Because I think they were very much like I think she was doing something at school and they didn't want to upset her doing that, so they kind of waited for something. But they did set out that they were going to tell her because they knew that with Bernie's treatment and all of those things, she was going to be ill, you know, with her chemo. She was going to lose her hair. That can be quite shocking for a child if they have no idea and then, you know, next day mummy's got no hair or, you know, or she's being ill. So they did make a conscious effort to tell Erin eventually so that she could go through the process with her, whatever that process may be.
I mean, it is what you tell them and how you tell them, and I suppose
what age
it's got
they
to
are.
be age-appropriate, hasn't it? I mean, I think that sort of professional advice when they're toddlers and young school-age kids, giving them simple, direct explanations, use the name of the illness, like cancer, rather than, you know, a nasty bug or a nasty thing. Tell them where the illness is, and also tell them how it's going to affect them, you know, because they are potentially thinking, my world is going to fall apart and all the people are there. So it's sort of make it focused on them rather than what is going to happen to
And I think answer their
person.
questions as honestly as you can, because a lot of, with kids, selfishly, that they do this, they do worry about them. So they'll be like, am I going to catch this off you? Am I going to get it, you know?
That's a good point. Tell them it's not contagious, particularly when you're talking about cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Brenda, with you, your kids were older at the time. How did you tackle it?
Yeah, well, Jamal and Tanisha, they were 24 and 26. So, as Coleen says, I think age appropriateness kind of helped me in a way. I didn't know what I was going to say because at the time I was literally diagnosed with the stage 3 breast cancer, but I didn't know if I had long, or that was the questions that I didn't have, which is why it took me so long to tell the kids before I did tell them. But as you say, they had questions of, so what does that mean? What are you gonna die? Are you gonna, is your hair gonna fall? And I basically just wanted them to try, which is my default, as you know, just try and act like there's not nothing going on, but I want you to continue doing what you're doing to keep your mind busy and active, so you're not thinking... I guess
if they say if you're going to die, it's hard to say absolutely not,
if I had got that prognosis, I don't know if I would have said that to them, because I would have wanted them to have hope. I'd always want them to have some hope and some form of something to hold on to. But I think if you don't, it's for everybody individual as themselves. But if you don't, my worry is that because I've got friends whose parents died and they found out that they had an illness that they kept from them.
Yeah, the shock.
And that child is left saying, well, why didn't my mum or my dad want to tell me that? Why didn't this person want to? And that's left with so much regret and hurt in that person that's left behind, always soul-searching and seeking for an answer that they're never going to actually get. So, you know, that was why I decided openness and just tell them the truth and just tell them what's going on and let's work on it together and try and get through it.
I suppose there's also a difference between, you know, a condition like cancer that's diagnosed, so it's almost an event in the family, whereas with you, Denise, it's obviously mental health and it was like a chronic, ongoing.
Yeah, it was, my kids, and obviously there's a 12-year gap between my children, so there's a big disparity in their ages. But Matthew was used to mum being very poorly in bed. And so initially, like we did with Louis when he was ill, you know, their dad would just say, mummy's poorly, or with Matthew, has mummy got her thing?
Right.
He
So you
sort
didn't
of had
use
an
the word
understanding
depression?
of her thing, not until he was a bit older. But it's interesting when kids grow up, how what you tell them and how they've processed it manifests. Obviously, with my eldest child, he's a singer and songwriter. So a lot of things I mean, I used to actually listen at his bedroom sometimes to hear about his scarred childhood, to hear what he was singing about. But in this instance, he wrote a song, which I didn't know he was writing it until I heard it on his album called She Lays Down. And it's basically because I told him when he was older and he could understand it, that depression depresses everything, every emotion, so it robs you of the ability to love. And I said that I used to lie down on the bedroom floor, and I'm not religious, but pray to whatever to help me be able to love my child again. And that's why he wrote She Lays Down. And lyrically, it's like... she lays down on her bedroom floor. The chemicals that make her laugh don't seem to be working anymore. And one of the things that I told him, and I never realised it resonated with him so much, is that I never tried to take my own life, but there were times I was so poorly, I wanted that job to be done. And I said that I was taking him to see his dad in Australia when he was about 1. And I had a massive recurrence of my illness, and it was crippling and debilitating, absolutely. And I prayed that the plane would go down because it would take everything, it would take that away from me. And he wrote...
Denise, actually, do you mind? We've got a little clip of Matty singing the song.
Oh.
The engines all go bust, we turn to dust, and I've no reason to complain. She's a bore, though she doesn't love me at all. She wears a frown and dressing gown when she lays down.
That's a bit much.
So emotional.
It's really emotional, isn't it? Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that clip. Yeah. So it's, you know, kids have different ways of processing it, don't they, you know?
And it's good that Matty was able to express it in music and words.
Yeah, because it was...
Because some kids don't have that.
It was a lot of their childhood.
Yeah.
And you know, and still is.
But what it shows is the strength of your relationship, that he is able to express very deeply personal thoughts, things that you've shared, and you can watch that, and you can see your...
And you can accept it.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
You know, you're managing that. There are always helplines, of course, on our website if you're dealing with any of the situations that we've been talking about.